Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead, bring to order this meeting of Parks Recreation Reviews Committee. Today is Wednesday, October 22nd, right? Roll call, please.
Bardonish.
Here.
Keith,
Here.
and Tyra. Here.
Right, everyone's here, we have a quorum. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Let's do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, please have a seat. Okay, the first item is waste management update, Jessica.
Hello.
Please, I think
Up to the podium.
Yes, please.
All right, hello, everyone. It's great to see you all again. If you don't recall, last time I was here, my name is Jessica McGinnis. I'm your Public Sector Solutions Manager at the Local Waste Management Office. I work at the Templeton T Station. I worked for Midstate Solid Waste for almost 5 years before it was purchased by WM. And today I'm here to give you a quick little update about some things we've been working on and things that are going on with trash in Templeton CSD. So first thing that I wanted to share is we do have our upcoming fall cleanup. This happens every year for any residential customers with extra organic waste. So this would be yard waste, food waste, whichever they want to combine. And it's on one Saturday, so they can use their existing carts that they have outside of their service day to place out. Or if they have larger materials such as branches and small tree limbs, they can cut those and bundle them and they'll be removed as well. So this was nailed out with the October invoices, and then we'll be prepared for that event at the middle of November. So if you live here in TCSD, you probably have received it. We also have copies at our office as well as at the TCSD office, if folks might have missed the memo. If customers received their statements as paperless billing, they would have also gotten this email to them, and it's also available on the WM website. Any questions about the cleanup before we move on? Okay. So these are our annual service guides that we send out once a year. This is also going out in the next run of invoices. So these will be coming out with the December, January invoices. And as part of our franchise agreement, we always include the prices. We talk about the 3 container services. We do just a brief recycle guide there as kind of a little update. That information is also available on the WM website as well. We talk about spacing, we talk about the holiday schedule, and then we also talk about some SB 1383, which is still relevant, continues to be on the radar. And then as you go down a little bit more, it talks about some information if customers have questions about how to pay their bill or setting up an online account. We also talk about holiday tree recycling, the option of renting temporary bin and roll-off services, bulky items, and then we include the hazardous waste, curbside oil recycling, which is free service put on by IWMA. And we also included the fall cleanup information on that flyer as well, just in case maybe somebody didn't read that insert. And then we talk about our spring cleanup too, which was always held that last week of April. So just a little foresight for customers to know when it's coming. We will be sending out an additional flyer as that gets a little closer. And that is also a curbside cleanup event. And let's see, anything else here? It just kind of gives you the layout of our cleanup events and then how to connect with us locally. So pretty straightforward. That would be the residential cleanup flyer. And then this last page is just our standard sorting guide, which is sent out twice a year. So it's just a little reminder for folks. Any questions on that one? No?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, as to your spring cleanup, are we gonna be able to coordinate that with the?
I just saw Bill write those dates down.
Okay.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay, perfect.
And whatever the rec department needs for when we do the creek cleanup and whatnot, we're always happy to provide equipment, so.
We host an event called Clutter to Cash.
Yeah.
And our goal is to host that event before this spring cleanup so that if people try to sell their clutter and they don't raise any cash, they can throw it away.
I don't know, I guess
But-
we're
but-
off by 1 week or
Yeah,
something.
there's some complexities involved because a lot of the neighboring communities host a similar event. And we get a lot of criticism if our date coincides with another community's date because I view like, yard sailing as like just a periodic activity, but apparently I don't have a lot in common with other people and they are really into yard sailing. And if they know that Morro Bay Yard Sale Day is this date, how dare ours also be on the same date? Because they cannot possibly hit all of them.
It's a real issue.
It is, it leads to very angry, they get really upset.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
we
like
will
they say,
coordinate.
"Whoa." I had no expectation that people were traveling for this event, but they did.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so that's the end of that one. Then this is the commercial and multifamily winter newsletter as well. So a little bit different than the residential newsletter, whereas we offer some different services. So kind of same thing. We've got some SB 1383 information on how to make your payments, talking about different services that we offer. We do bulk item collection as well for commercial and multifamily. So just sharing that information a little more. Included our holiday schedule as well. And if you continue to go down a little bit,
Sorry. Whoa.
you're okay. And then same thing, we just have our standardized sorting guide there. So before we move on to the fun stuff, any questions on the commercial?
No, I wanna go back to the other thing really quick,
Uh-huh.
sorry. One of the groups that doesn't, that would prefer we have different dates than them is the Atascadero, whatever, their Clutter to Cash, their community-wide yard sale. Does Waste Management, I know you guys provide the service in Atascadero as well. Are you all a united front or are they completely different?
So for the Atascadero cleanup events, each single family resident has the option to drop off a load at our T station.
Okay,
And so we're actually in the middle of our fall cleanup event right now. I can send you the dates for the Atascadero cleanup, but it's not like a drop off situation.
Right.
They're
that's like
bringing
the same
it.
thing. picked
Yeah,
up?
whereas in TCSD, we pick up the cleanup stuff curbside.
Right,
So
okay.
they don't have to load it into a trailer and bring it.
So it would be a completely different.
Yeah, but I think-
Motivator for them too. so,
Yeah, I can
okay.
give you those dates though.
Yeah, cool, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll all email you.
Okay.
Thanks, Jess.
Any questions on the commercial? Okay. So moving on, we are going to talk about some overages and contamination monitoring. So historically with Mid-State Solid Waste, we had some pretty dated technology, some pretty dated vehicles in our fleet. I'm lucky to have gotten to experience that because now I can really appreciate the things that WM has to offer and how much better we're able to monitor these things. So after the acquisition of Mid-State, we put a pause on charging residential and commercial customers for overages and contaminations in the beginning. As you all know, there were some challenges in that transition and we didn't want to add to it. So we took a little break. And starting in this last June, after speaking with Jeff, we turned back on our contamination and overage monitoring. So the customers would receive a letter, because after the acquisition, they would still receive a letter saying, hey, your cart was overfilled, your dumpster was overfilled. Please make sure the lids are closed, kind of go into it and send a picture. And going forward, there may be additional charges if this were to occur. So it was just warnings and education. So starting in June, we turned back on the contamination and overage monitoring where we're actually implementing the charges that we already have established in our franchise agreement and our rate structure. So I was able to look at some repeat offenders that I just happen to know because I talk to them on the phone pretty often. And I wanted to show you what we see and what our process is on contacting these customers and being able to go through the process. So this is clearly a residential customer with a recycle cart. There's two different problems in this photo. First one is their lid is not completely closed, which to AI, to the camera system, they would see this and say it's overfilled. The second thing is, that's a plastic bag in their blue recycle can. So plastic bags are not allowed in the recycling receptacles or the organics. And so this customer received notification not just about an overfilled container, but also about a contamination. So we'll get a little more into how this process is working, but I just wanted you to see what we see on our end internally with our operations. Let's say a customer was confused about the notification they received. First thing we do is we look up their account and we can see this video image.
Can we just pause for 1 second, Jessica?
Sure.
So one of the questions that I had was, because obviously this has generated more calls to our office and inquiries and complaints and whatever. When Midstate was the provider, these images weren't being captured automatically and processed through kind of a more comprehensive center. It would have to have been noticed by the driver, who would have had to take affirmative action to do something about it. So probably these similar cases would have existed many times over, but not triggered any sort of action because,
Notification.
yeah, either a penalty or anything else, the driver just pick it up because there was no automation for that.
Yes. So my role with Midstate was I was the lead customer service rep. When someone called our local office, I was that voice on the other end of the phone. And with Midstate, we didn't have cameras in our trucks. We didn't have this smart truck technology. If the driver rolled up and saw someone put a plastic bag in their recycle, he used a two-way radio, called it in saying such and such address, contaminated, and then we would call the customer, educate them, and then we would let them know going forward, there's a charge for this type of contamination or this type of overage. And so although it was a little more personable because they're receiving a phone call, we have found that the process of sending them the letter with the picture is able to show them, well, this is exactly what happened. And it kind of also proves, this is what's backing why you're receiving this notification. Whereas someone over the phone might just say, oh, he got the wrong house, or we couldn't prove it, right? So this has been really helpful.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if your system of sending out the warning letters is working. It happened to me, it was like summertime where it was windy. So I had my green garbage out and I had honeysuckle in there. Then, as you know, honeysuckle is puffy, puffs back up. Well, I had the lid on at the time, it was closed, but then the wind blew it open and the honeysuckle popped up. And then I got fined, basically. It was like $5 or something, and I never received a warning letter.
So before it was warning,
But
and,
sorry.
and so because we do have the rate established in there, it's now a notification with a charge.
Yes, so
Yes.
you're not giving any warnings out.
So-
anymore.
Correct. So if a customer, if you call and said, hey guys, it wasn't overfilled, this is what happened, we would be able to pull up this picture and say, oh, yeah, it looks like the camera recognized it as being overfilled, but clearly it wasn't. We'd be happy to reverse that charge for you. So in hopes that folks are reading the notice, right? As much as technology is supposed to assist us, there's always room for improvement. And in circumstances like that, what I would do is I would reach out to our smart truck team and say, hey, the camera at this location, this occurrence was invalid. And what they'll do is they'll flag it and they'll go back and look and say, okay, why did that capture as an overage when it isn't? And that's an opportunity for them to make that correction and improvement. So that's the nice thing, is that there's a whole team of people that monitor these. So it starts with AI. AI is looking at this and seeing it, and then it's before someone is charged or a letter is sent, it's physically reviewed by a real person.
So, I mean, is it right now just, if it's just slightly open too, it's getting captured and getting fined?
So
I mean,
the lids are supposed to be completely closed.
that's okay.
And generally, unless it's about like this, you're not gonna receive a notice. They give it some leeway, right? If it's this much open, it's not really that overfilled. Maybe it was just a cardboard box. That didn't get squashed down. So there's definitely room for that. Well, we'll get a little bit more into it because there's two parts to this. There's the overages, and then there's contamination. So they're handled a little bit separate, different letter, different charge. So this was just an example to kind of show you a two-part issue on a residential cart. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. This is a local business here in TCSD that we have repeating unable to service issues. This goes back to even in the mid-state days. This is a multi-unit complex of businesses right off of Main Street. And the folks that own the actual property rent these out to different shops, different businesses. And we do ask and put on, do not block stickers or things of this nature, but folks continue to park in front of the equipment. So not that this is a contamination or overage, but I just kind of wanted to show you that this is another similar service issue that we run into. And a lot of times when you call the business owner, because the account's in their name, they'll say, well, we don't know whose cars those were, or we don't know what business they were visiting. And so we try and work together with them to establish a procedure. Can we put out cones? Is there a better location that we can place this equipment to keep people from parking there? Still working on a resolution for this because this parking lot is really restricted on us being able to relocate them somewhere else. But just want to show you a different service issue that we see all the time. Okay, so from our end, this is what we would send a customer if they receive an overage or contamination notice. So this is an example of a commercial customer. As you can see, recycle super overfilled, right? Had those folks broken down their boxes, it probably wouldn't have been overfilled. And then with the trash, how the lids are up there on the black dumpster on the right-hand side, that would be considered overfilled. The lids on the dumpster, there's over the top. And then the other bottom right-hand picture is the camera that we see from the inside of our hopper. So that would be, I didn't attach the actual video, but if you were looking at the screen or a customer had this emailed to them, they would be able to play that video and actually see the contents of the dumpster dumped inside their truck, where they could see why they're getting that notification. So then this letter is a template, it's blurred out. We didn't want to share anyone's personal information today, but as an example, this is what they would receive, where it says such and such was found on this date. Do not bag recyclables, yada, yada, goes on, and then a picture of why they received it. So they know what day it was, whether it was recycle or green. So that is kind of the template that we use, a brief overview. Okay, if you wanna go to the next one. And then part of SB 1383 and our smart truck technology that's constantly improving is for this reason. It's to educate our customers. And we can send out sorting guides 10 times a year, whether folks actually read them or post them on their fridge or educate everyone else in their household. That's up to them. But we continue to share and use this to educate and provide that outreach. And I will say a lot of folks that have been receiving any sort of letters, when they do call our office and they say, why did I get this letter? And although it states everything on there as to why it was received, just talking to them and being able to explain why they get it, they still tend to have a better understanding talking to a live person. So just wanted to share with you basically as to how all of this is being kept. Each month we send a monthly service report to Jeff, and in that there is a list of our contaminations of all of those who have received notices. There's dates, customer information, and then a link where, if needed, you could also look at the video as to why they received the contamination. So just wanted to share that aspect with you, kind of show you some more pictures there. And then,
I'm sorry, is that report pretty big report? Is that something that we could put in the board packet or anything like that?
I mean, you could, but I'm not sure, I mean, I was surprised because I wasn't getting this level of detail until more recently. But there's it went from hardly any contaminants, now we get like multiple pages of like, it's like a spreadsheet that lists like all the addresses, there's a lot every month,
Yeah.
maybe 100 or something
yeah,
or more.
Yeah, so at least the board, I think, should know that this is happening, so I'm sure we get called, we're gonna get called.
Well, I'm getting the calls, if
Yeah.
you're, so,
Well, we-
so, I
And-
don't know if you are, but, yeah, they're coming, I'm getting more calls on refuse matters than ever before. I mean, because of really the more enhanced enforcement that's taking place.
And then why are they calling you and not, waste management?
They don't,
Is it
Like
not a
waste
phone number?
management?
Well,
I
is it
don't,
not-
so the calls are like, I can't get a hold of a
Yeah,
person.
so that's
an
the problem we're
issue.
having, so that's still continues to be a huge issue.
Well, it's not a problem that I have, but
Because right now, I know when I call, I don't get a representative.
So we have 2 local customer service reps that answer the phones, but the way our phone system works is after 4 rings, if they're on the other line with another customer, or one of them is at lunch, right? So we're not closed for lunch break. It's open throughout the day. The girls cover each other. And if they're on the other line or after 4 rings, it gets forwarded to our corporate call center,
Yeah.
which you can also reach a live person, but you have to have your customer ID number.
Yeah.
And unless someone has their invoice in front of them, they're just like representative. So although we're still there, right? There's not an option to leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges that,
And so then we end up at the district getting the phone calls, which is
yeah,
taking,
I mean, it's not a ton, but it's obviously,
I know I've
it's
called
several
you.
times more than I ever got back in the mid-state days.
Yeah.
I get calls several times a month as opposed to before. Usually it was like Brad calling me saying, hey, I've just let you know this problem. I've taken care of it, but you might hear about it. And
Yeah,
I rarely got it. But it was a different,
system.
a more personable system. And I also think it wasn't just good customer service. I think it generally was, but it was also like a lot of times the Mid-State was making accommodations. In other words, there was this overage, but they wouldn't charge for it, or they would provide services that were above and beyond what was paid for.
yeah. And or above and beyond what was in our franchise agreement.
Yeah, we've got cases where a lot of people had additional cans or services that were not being charged
Yeah.
just to accommodate the business and.
There were a lot of free services that were being given away because they just always were, right? Because it was a small town owned company and you could do that. But part of my job in now being overseeing our franchise agreement is, in my eyes, that's less franchise fees that's coming back to our district. Because you're giving away free service, so they're not paying their.
There's probably problems beyond that, like just because we follow Prop 218 to do the rate setting, and if some customers are getting services they're not paying for, then technically the other customers are subsidizing that, and so there are certainly more problems that after the fact were noticed.
Yeah, so after the acquisition as well, there was a lot of cleanup to be had, right? So all of these old accounts from Mid-State being put into the new system, we do audits. One of the things with WM having this smart truck technology is that we're able to audit and use these cameras. And like Jeff said, maybe someone had 3 recycle carts, but their account only showed 1, right? So there was many of those situations which didn't help sell the WM story in the beginning of the acquisition. But I think once people do talk to us in the local office and they do see us out in the community, they're like, oh, these are still like normal people that live in our town, you know? And oh, we've got our driver lives down the street. So there's benefits of it being a larger corporation, things like this, and being able to monitor better and educate better, but then you lose that small town touch. And so that's a challenge that I'm still working on winning folks over in our community. And I will continue to try and win them over. So, okay, let's go on to the next one real quick. So this is how you can see the different trucks, cameras in the trucks. Just wanted to give you an example here. So the rear view would be the back end of the truck, angled side view where the claw is that picks up the containers. You've got the top hopper view where you can see the contents of the container being emptied inside. You've got your curbside view, and then you've got an angled hopper view. So all of these different camera angles are what we use to determine the contaminants, any overages, keep us safe, right? The drivers can see these from the inside of their truck. So this helps them with safety procedures as well. And keep going. And then this is also listed on our WM website. So if customers ever are curious or they're just navigating through the page looking for information, this kind of explains what is overage. So as you can see on the carts, like this, not like this. So if it's open, like that example on the bottom right-hand corner, that is gonna be caught automatically as that looks like an overage. And then same thing with the commercial services. The lid's not completely closed, camera's gonna say that's overfilled. This is kind of a cool one that's just on our website. So the IWMA and every hauler in SLO County had, our biggest issue that we have is people bagging their recyclables and bagging organic waste too. So this is on our website as well, as we share any IWMA sorting information, anything going out to our residents in the district. That is one of the biggest press points that we like to highlight because it's still a major issue and it causes some pretty big problems with the sorting line down at Cold Canyon where we take all of our recyclables.
So this is another area where people, either there's confusion or creates complaints, but this is universal. This is not a Templeton thing or a
Yes.
waste management thing. You cannot put your recyclables, no matter where you dispose of them, in a thin plastic contained bag. That bag prevents the recyclables from being sorted, and it's not recyclable.
Yeah, it causes major jams in machinery at the sorting facilities, like, this is a worldwide problem. So we just wanted to show that as another example on the slide. This is constantly being shown. And then these are honestly just for a good chuckle. So here is an example of a customer who overfilled their green waste.
Yeah.
How to stand
That doesn't look like honeysuckle.
Swear that was closed before I.
Yeah.
You can just keep scrolling. These are all just kind of wild. Yeah, just I thought that I would share with you. This one's outside Mel's house. I'm just kidding. And then this one is an example of contamination. So although you might take a look at that and think that all looks like organic waste to me, there's some rocks in there, there's some big dirt clumps in there, and those things we actually have to take in the trash, not the organic waste. The dirt clumps and rocks can't be ground up in mulch to make a compost. And so that's another thing that as we share our sorting guides and whatnot, we always make sure to include no rocks, please. Like mulch is fine, like from your flower beds, that kind of stuff, but just straight dirt clods can't take.
I think there's also a limit on how large the branches can be, is it 4 inches or something?
Yeah, so 4 inches in diameter. So the length isn't necessarily a problem. They can go in the grinder that way, no matter how long. Of course, make sure your lid's closed, but the circumference of the actual piece of wood has to be under 4 inches. All right, was that the last one?
That's it.
Okay, so then in closing, I just kind of wanted to review. So right now in our rate structure for TCSD, we don't have a contamination for residential, recycle, or organics. This is something that we're gonna talk about in the future so that we can make sure that we're keeping up with regulatory compliance things within the state of California. So right now, if a residential customer is contaminating, they are just getting warnings. So that would be if they are putting the plastic in their recycling, or if they're putting dirt in their green waste. They are just getting warning educational letters. So that's something I do want to visit in the future. A lot of my other franchise agreements that I oversee do have established rates for those things. So something that we'll just talk about later on. Just wanted to let you know as far as that goes. And of course, there's no contamination currently being put on for residential trash. So if someone's putting recyclables in their trash, they're not getting a notice. And if they're putting organics in their trash, the driver is still just letting us know that, hey, please call them, like they dump it, but we need to personally educate them. The continuous monitoring with Smart Truck technology for residential is just recycle and organic waste and education at this time. And then for residential overages, we do have established rates in our franchise agreement for that. So a residential overage would be $5.17 each time that their can is overfilled. And that is across the board for all 3 waste streams, trash, recycle, and organics. And for our commercial services, We do have overages established in our rate structure. It's $13.60 per extra yard of material, which it's going to just be 1 yard. You can't have 2 extra yards and still be able to dump it. That would be crazy. It'd be like twice the amount. So that's already established in our rate structure. And then as far as commercial contamination, the only rate we have established at this time is for commercial organics. So that would be any of our food generators that we have here in the district, any of them that even are just having green waste for their landscaping. So those would be the only contamination charges. Anything for recycling, they are just receiving warnings and education.
Do you have any window of time about when fees may be implemented for the contamination for residents?
It would require a Prop 218 notice, and so that's something that,
We would have to.
yeah, it would be a process, and we would try and aim for it to align with our CPI, which is every year in April, so probably not this April, but it's something on the horizon that we'll be working together and come up with a plan.
Just so you know, the way the rates are structured, these aren't really fines, they're based on the cost of providing that service, so they're really like an additional. They're not intended to be punitive, although they do financially impact the customer.
So how did you come up with the $5 fee for overage?
So these rates have been part of our franchise agreement for the entirety of our contract, and each year they just go up with CPI. So it's just been an old rate from back when Midstate had the contract, and each year it just goes up with the same CPI percentage.
Because I'm looking at like if you had an additional green waste card, it's $12 per month.
Right,
And then to charge someone $5 for.
so that's,
And you're not even technically, putting a, second lift on the truck, so I don't understand why it's $5. Is that?
for the overage,
Yeah.
it's honestly a rate that was already established that continues to rise with CPI each year. It doesn't change any differ than the normal CPI.
But we can't really, because of our contract being 10 years, we can't really. negotiate
No,
anyway.
you could, the rates there's a provision in the franchise agreement that would trigger rate openers essentially. So for example, right now, as Jessica mentioned, there's really no consequence for disposing of something in your trash container that should have been recycled or
Yeah.
put in green waste. Well, that is going to be that's the next low hanging fruit in all of this, because unless there's consequences, it's easier for people to do that. Well, in order to really achieve these diversion goals, we're gonna have to get those materials out of that container, because if it's in the black container,
Yeah.
it's going to the landfill almost certainly.
Yeah, no, I get that, but on the overage especially, if it's in a green card and it's a little bit open and things like that, I just think $5 is too much per incident, so, if it was a couple of dollars maybe, but $5.
Yeah, I don't know, we have to go back a long way
Especially
to
if it's
figure out
only,
how
if
it's
it's
done.
only open that
Originally,
much,
there's a,
and nobody's violating,
But, $2, people might say, okay, I'll just pay that, but
Yeah,
when
which is
$5,
not
it's
much of a
like, oh,
deterrent.
I don't wanna get stuck with that again.
Yeah, but to me, it's not a great violation to have a little bit of lid open. It's not, you're still recycling, you're putting the right stuff in the green waste. So to me, the other way, if you are recycling property, that's more of a problem than if you just have like a little bit of extra, I don't know, branches or something, or a little bit extra cardboard in there. It's just like they're, Christmas time, there are times during the year that, or, whatever, birthdays or something, people produce a little bit more garbage and, pay that much money.
So we do offer a service for picking up extra material, that if a customer knows that, hey, I'm having a big family gathering this weekend, they'll call and say, I'm gonna have 2 extra bags out on Monday. No problem. We can add extra and let the driver know there's gonna be 2 extra bags out that day. One of the biggest problems about the overages and the lids not being closed is when the drivers pull up and they start to barely tip those carts, If that lid isn't completely closed, you've got cans and bottles spewing all over the ground. You've got leaves spilling out of the, branches aren't too big of an issue, but the leaves and the ground cover, like bark and things of that nature. The drivers have brooms, but if they're getting out and cleaning up after each time that something spills out, that's really the incentive on getting folks to make sure that their lids are closed. To prevent the mess from preventing a traffic problem because the driver has to get out and sweep up the street, right? That's really the general idea of them not being overfilled.
There are options, so, you know, all the custom, if a customer's problem is the black can regularly being overfilled, they can increase, there's 3 sizes available. And if it's a blue can or a green can, you can get another can.
Yeah.
So if you're routinely filling your green can, it may make sense to just get a second one, you know, rather than paying
The overage.
the overage regularly.
Yeah, and that would be the same thing that our customers, local customer service and corporate customer service would encourage. If a customer is saying, oh, I keep getting these notices, what's going on here? And they say, oh, it looks like you're very often overfilling your can, or you very often have extra recyclables. For only $10 a month, you can add an additional cart. And I'll say this time of year especially, there's hundreds of residents in Templeton that will call just to add extra green cans until the leaves fall. And then they can call and say, I don't need it anymore, pick it up.
And then is there any limit to weight as far as like how much weight?
Generally, it's 300 pounds is the max weight limit for the arm of the truck. And 300 pounds of leaves can look a lot different than 300 pounds of manure, right? So it's kind of hard to have that happen. I will say, when we do have carts that are too heavy, the drivers still let us know at a local level, and we do personally reach out to customers, let them know it's too heavy, give them the option to offload some of that material, and we'll send a driver back at no additional fee. It's another education opportunity.
It's one of the problems with this industry is we price refuse collection by volume, but almost all the costs are based on weight, right? Like our tipping fees,
All
how much can fit in the truck is less about volume, more about weight, but there's not a practical way of charging for weight for the service.
At least there's no fine for it, right?
Yeah,
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 I've not got that, those calls mustn't, I mean, I've not received calls like that. I know that was a concern with Midstate when we first started rolling out the organic material, because we were envisioning all this wet, heavy kitchen waste and what's gonna overfill these containers, and they were, you know, but it's worked itself out.
Yeah, and that's why for our commercial customers and businesses, food generators, our rate structure is set up for them to have a 60-gallon organic waste container. So any of the food generators have 60 gallons. Those that are just using it for yard waste, they can still have the 90 because of that weight issue.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to know, last time we had met, is there an update on the trash cans for Main Street?
Oh, that's good.
Oh.
That's good.
Good question.
Yeah, good question. I'll take a stab at it. Maybe we have 3 different updates. So yes, so since you met last time, and I'm trying to remember, when we first brought this issue before you, we had identified some commercial container styles. Then Jessica and I met, and she was really saying, you know what, we could do better. Let's keep looking for something that's more attractive. So we identified some other samples. Then we met with IWMA staff. I believe that was in June.
Yep.
And we got some guidance about how to apply for a grant.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, or within a few weeks, the grant program was put on pause. And then it looked like it was gonna be a go again. But I think at the last IWMA meeting, the grant program came back to be funded and was not eliminated, but not funded. And so it's not an option to get the grant funding today.
Wait, so it was not eliminated, but also not funded?
The program wasn't, I think, program's not funded.
The program is on the back burner.
Yeah, then I'm gonna.
Okay.
So we are back to square one. So we still have 32-gallon WM trash carts that are staged at certain, gathering points down Main Street. In all honesty, most weeks they're pretty darn empty. Other than a little bit of school traffic, throwing away wrappers from Templeton Market, they're not used a whole lot. They did get used during the Templeton Food and Grain Car Show, so that was cool. That was probably the fullest that they had been. And I'm glad that we were able to still have them there for that. Otherwise, they're there if someone needs them, right?
So the franchise agreement, this kind of originally, the franchise agreement is not super clear on
Who
the,
provides
the
them?
container. It says that the franchise, that the hauler shall service these containers. It's not known, I mean, I haven't researched it beyond my time here, but who provided them originally? I had, when Midstate was providing the service, I had Midstate clean, do some repairs on those containers because they were in kind of poor shape. And then earlier this year, I think it was the spring, Waste Management decided they weren't salvageable and removed them. And that's when we said, well, the franchise requires them to be in.
Yeah.
And we put out Waste Management put out the carts temporarily, but they're not very attractive and.
Regular cards.
Yeah, surprisingly, they haven't walked away, I
Yeah.
guess. I thought that would be the concern, somebody would just go, well, I know where I can get an extra black container and use it. Because, that happens.
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky.
But that hasn't been an issue. So I think that technically there's not the requirements of the franchise are being met, that the main street is being serviced for these public containers. But we don't have attractive or permanent containers in place.
Be interested to see like when the holidays come by, if those containers mysteriously become more filled. Start to.
I'll let you know at our
Yeah.
next update, but it seems to be pretty minimal, honestly, unless we have a downtown event or a car show, car cruise nights. They're pretty,
We have, so I guess the other thing is in Templeton, so one, these are like small containers. You're not gonna put a couch in there. Maybe a Barbie couch. The other thing is there are a lot of dumpsters in Templeton that are not very well monitored. And
Not locked.
Yeah, they're not locked or in a secure location, and so there are already places for people to go to. If you're gonna
Need a place to.
borrow, if you're gonna use somebody else's trash container, it's not that hard to find one in
Yeah.
Templeton.
and then like here at the park, those all have locks on them, but there's a lot of dumpsters like for the commercial businesses that they don't ever really need to lock because they don't have big issues with illegal dumping. But that's another thing that's great about us having the local office. If someone were to get an overage letter and there's a couch sticking out of it and they're a restaurant, we're gonna reverse that charge for them. Clearly, there was an illegal dumping that happened that maybe they need to get cameras or, and that would kind of be the conversation. But we're not gonna say, no, that's your dumpster, you're responsible. We still have the ability to make that judgment call.
Someone did dump two couches out by the railroad tracks, so just,
Are they still there?
yeah.
Okay.
Where on the railroad tracks?
Okay, you know where the Legion Hall is? Okay, there's that road that comes in and then it turns and goes across the railroad tracks.
Oh, down like
there's
8th
this-
Street, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a little dirt road that runs along the railroad tracks and someone just dumped them out over there.
I can send
This-
someone to pick them up tomorrow. So normally what would happen, Amanda from the Legion or Mel or Justin will call me and say, hey, someone dumped this, can we get your help? We'll send somebody to pick it
Yeah,
up.
well, it's on railroad right away, so I, and this isn't the first time, people are always dumping wood over there and stuff, so
Yeah.
this is the first time I ever saw, two couches. Okay.
Well, I'm glad you told me. I'll send someone to pick them up tomorrow.
Yeah, they're kind of down, they're kind of hard to get to.
That's okay. We have two guys. They can get down there with their pickup. They have a lift gate. We'll make it
Well,
happen.
it just, it isn't the lift gates, it's like the slope, it's kind of,
Yeah, they'll probably have to trek down, get them.
Yeah.
That's okay. We can get them.
Okay, yeah, also, so you do take care of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I had a lady call me a couple months back who was very saddened that someone ran over a cat in Main Street. And she didn't have it in her to go scrape it off the road and I came down with a shovel and.
Oh.
So, that's the beautiful thing about servicing a smaller community service district is that we're able to still be able to do those things. Now, if someone calls me in a Atascadero, am I gonna run down there? Probably not. I'll probably call their public works. Because it's a Atascadero and they have the resources to do that. But I'm happy to help, so.
But it, just, it's a railroad's problem, but I just,
Well,
Yeah.
the thing is, no, we wanna stay on top of it because the illegal dumping creates more illegal dumping. It's kind of like the same
Oh.
philosophy as like graffiti. Once you see some and you don't deal with it, you get more and more and more. And so people, we wanna stay on top of the illegal dumping. We don't have a huge problem here relative to some other communities, but if there's a couch or a mattress, or that's kind of stuff that usually ends up being dumped, we wanna get it taken care of.
okay.
It doesn't matter whose property it's on.
And anytime anything like that happens, if you don't know how to get a hold of me, Mel, Justin, Gary, and they know how to get a hold of me right away, so.
Oh, just to be clear, styrofoam goes into the black can, right?
Goes in the trash, yes.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
guys so much. I look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Thanks, Jessica.
Okay, now, time for Templeton Recreation Foundation collaboration and structure.
I come up here?
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you for waiting,
Alright.
appreciate it.
Of course. And pulling up some notes I have, I didn't bring a presentation per se. That was very good, what she had.
She's on the clock.
Okay, cool. But yeah, just wanted to, make sure I could be here to chat with you guys about and answer any questions about either that you have. We do, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the day-to-day that's gone on with it, but about a year and a half ago, we had a few kind of main members, Lori and Jeff, step aside. And prior to that, a guy named Brent and Kalud, and so I kind of consider it kind of gone into hibernation mode. We're trying to keep everything afloat right now. Doing some fundraisers here and there, beer run, we're gonna try to get together for next year. Trying to keep things going, trying to do some recruitment. From what I know, I really came on only, I think, about 2 years ago. And from what I can tell of what it was compared to the activities that we're doing right now, it's a little bit, we're doing a little bit less, we just have less manpower right now. I think partially because of the age group of the members, we're all kind of like younger parents. And so we're doing everything we can to keep it going and keep, we're brainstorming on, we had a great meeting, 3 weeks ago, of kind of looking into 2026 and brainstorming of how to start doing some more fundraising, a few big or a few potential purchases. We talked with Mel about potentially a turf rejuvenation system that TRF would be purchasing for the rec department. And yeah, so we are kind of trying to fire back up, but we've been just kind of slow going for about a year after Living the Scream that we did last year. That was really successful. We've been continuing to sponsor any children who want to play rec sports who can't afford it. We did, I think, about $8,000 in that this year. Sponsored concert in the parks. I had some notes on that, sorry. Yeah, between concert in the parks and sports teams, we were at almost $11,000. Scholarship program, TRF donated $8,000. And then in 2025, between like beer run and living the dream, we donated $30,000 to the general fund. So we do have some future goals in mind. Like I said, the beer run we want to definitely keep alive because that has been a good fundraiser over the past. Now, how many of you guys done to that? Like 12 now?
I think about, maybe 10.
10, yeah.
A couple years off.
We are actively recruiting, and we would be grateful if any of you know anybody in Templeton that is very community minded that would like to be a part of our board. recommend they reach out to us, cause we are looking for more manpower. Right now, we have 5 of us. So if you can think of any, if you're talking with somebody who says, hey, how can I get involved? I'd be happy to talk to them.
How many members do you would normally be sitting on the board?
Personally, I would like it if we could double that. If we had 10, would be awesome. Because it is, with it being volunteer and everybody having, their full-time jobs and families, it's when we have 5 of us and we're trying to accomplish a big fundraiser, I think often it can become overwhelming.
I appreciate what you're doing and, I think, TCSD and TRF, they always have worked collaboratively together. And that's always been wonderful. I think ever since, TRF decided to become 501(c), I think it just created a confusion. So I think, the board, the TCSD board is a little bit confused about what's happening, what kind of relationship maybe TRF is looking, to have with us. Because, previously it was always, mutual respect and, the work together for fundraisers and, there was, I guess kind of the arrangement was like 50%, split in 50%, but then I think there was a confusion, maybe that wasn't gonna happen or it was gonna happen, so, and when we do our budget, it would be kind of nice to know, okay, what is TRF thinking, what fundraisers they're gonna have, how much they think they're gonna be, donating to Templeton, to TCSD, so that would be good, set our budget properly, so it seems like you guys are trying to get back to that level again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I could only envision is kind of the difficult part on that is at this time with our manpower, like when we looked at 2026, pretty much the only thing that we put on the schedule is like, we definitely want to do, and it's gonna happen one way or the other, it's the beer run. Because it has been successful. Jeff and Lori played an instrumental role in putting together 2025s, even though they're not on the board technically. And
So you're not thinking of doing Living the Dream in 26 either then?
we didn't discuss that at this last meeting, it would obviously be a year out roughly. If we did it, with the manpower we have right now, I don't foresee it happening. In my opinion, if I could be blunt, the last one I didn't feel was a great success. The amount of people that came, we only had, I think we had about 95 or 100 people. There was, I think we ended up raising, I think 50 grand or 60 grand that was split between TRF and the rec department. So we each got 30, but I think the expenses on it was, its own
Because
40 grand. So we spent 40 grand to make 60. When I looked at the ROI on that, I was like, that's a lot of money to spend compared to what we make. And a lot of effort and like a lot of donations. And in my mind, in a small community like this, when you do a fundraiser and people donate and their donations don't get high, it makes them less inclined to donate again. Like, there was just, and I couldn't tell you what happened or why it happened. But it didn't leave me like living. I feel like beer run is like, it fires me up because I'm like, it's relatively simple. People love it. It raises a lot of money really quick, in relative expenses for, what we spend. If we spend $1,000 or $2,000 and then 15 is raised, so our net on that is $12,000 split to the two entities. I feel like the ROI on that's really good, and including the ROI on everybody's time. There was so much time put into the last Living the Dream, Living the Scream that, unfortunately, in my opinion, it wasn't worth it really.
Yeah, I don't know whether we need to go back to like a little bit simpler, like we had it at the Legion Hall, a little bit more, and or it could have just kind of worked itself through, that was it, basically. So it's hard to say, so.
I think, you know, we're, like I said, we're open to suggestions and, I think if we're able to get more manpower, and we did, you know, we just, brought on a young gal named, Heather, who's, she's amazing and she has a lot of, you know, a fired up spirit about doing stuff, which is nice. We do have a lot of camaraderie on the board now, which is nice. And we want to, you know, we wanna make we wanna fundraise money and we wanna spend money on the rec department and the rec programs and you know, Templeton as a whole. And so I think we have the energy right now, but not necessarily the manpower. But I think we're at that state where we're watering it and hoping it, you know, over the next 12 to 24 months grows bigger and better. And it just got cut back there for the last year.
We appreciate it, and you know, what you donate to Templeton is always so appreciative, and it's needed, to be honest. I mean, you know, I'm kind of nervous about our budget coming up, but because last year it was really close, and we'll see what happens this coming next year. So anything donated by TRF is much appreciated, so we thank you for that. It's a great community effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's things that we can do to help you, get members, you know,
Yeah, how are you, what does your outreach look like? How, like, so you have 5 members currently. Have they been members for a long time? Like, what is the outreach and application process look like?
Yeah, so we tried when I came on about 2 years ago, about maybe 6 months after that, somewhere around a year and a half ago, when some of those other kind of staple board members were leaving, we tried to do some social media to try to bring in members that didn't quite work. So we've been kind of going to word of mouth, like talking to friends, you know, because it's one of those things, I think, in that volunteer board work where if you put it out there on kind of the openness, nobody follows through. But it's more of, hey, you would be good for this board. You should, you know, it's something that you know, I think you would enjoy, you know, helping the community, and or this, you know, this may help you meet people, right? Give the people a reason that's a benefit for them. This may help you meet more people. You know, I'm new to the community, so we've kind of shifted back over to word of mouth, and hopefully that works. This is gonna be our second try, right? Social media didn't work, so.
I mean, I don't know, am I allowed?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
oh, you mean just no, we've had, actually, up until just about a year and a half ago, one of our board members was appointed as a liaison. Well, it had been several people, Wayne Peterson was, Deborah Logan's been, Jeff English. They'd all over time been a board member that was appointed to the TRF. And then some of them were also formally board members of TRF, including them, including Pearson when she was here. She was a board member on TCSD and also a board member of TRF. So I think that would, you know, it's not a problem to serve on both.
Well, I would love to connect with you, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Numbers are going up.
We're at 6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, I think it's really exciting to think about, like Naveed was saying, ways that the board can support TRF too, especially when we're talking about like the priorities that the rec department has. And so that way we can coordinate on any improvements that the district and investments that the district is making, with any support that TRF has too. So that way we're not duplicating anything, but our efforts are in alignment in the same direction.
Awesome.
So I would love, yeah, I'll connect with you and,
That'd be fantastic.
yeah. Very cool.
Thank you for doing that. That's really nice.
It worked.
We got it.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, we definitely look forward to working with you guys. Let us know any way we could help. And as I said, what you do is much appreciated from TCSD. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Jordan. See you Saturday.
All right. Good.
All right. Next item, review of fund analysis. So this is, difficult report to get, and it took a couple of years, but looking forward to going over it.
Okay, so,
Oh, yeah.
Small, we'll make it bigger, let's see, okay. So, we had performed, this committee actually, with different makeup, had done, reviewed a similar analysis back in 2021, based on the budget, of that year. So we took this, we brought that to you, I think, at a meeting of several months ago, said, is this the kind of analysis you're looking for? And, after the books closed on fiscal year 24-25, we did the same sorts of analysis for this past fiscal year. So the numbers you're looking here are actuals. I'm sorry, the numbers you're looking at, this very first one is the 2021-22, and it might be helpful to kind of go back and forth because there were some similarities and then another number of stark differences. And then this most recent analysis is based on actuals from fiscal year 24-25. Now, to create this, there's a number of assumptions that were made that are worth visiting or explaining. And I even brought some backup documents in case we want to kind of go through there and see if the assumptions are not, need to be revised. But this is not intended to be necessarily like a, down to the nickel in terms of assignment of costs or whatever, but some assumptions that were made. But let me walk you through what we've got here. And actually, Hannah Clark was involved with this, but she's out ill today, so not able to join us. Let's see if this is gonna be helpful. So what we did was take all of the revenues for the fund. And so this first column shows what you see what you'll see in the budget. This is essentially a true up of the budget for last fiscal year. And then broke down those revenues and expenses into one of three buckets. Either solid waste, parks and facilities, or programs. So this first one gonna be pretty easy. Franchise fees. When back in 21, we hadn't yet formally merged the funds, but it was under discussion, or that was planned. Or it was the first year that we had done so. But now, for several years now, we've got those funds merged. Well, the franchise fees clearly come from from solid waste activities, where we get a 10% franchise fee, so it's clearly related to solid waste. We weren't in the solid waste business, this revenue wouldn't exist, so we placed the revenue under solid waste component. Then we've got program income for concerts, we place that under programs. So again, some of these are probably not so difficult. Program income for soccer, these are all items that we separately categorize as the income comes in and in the budget. Basketball, softball, flag football, miscellaneous programs, that might be something like scoot camp or something along those lines. Fundraising income, this is the money that we were just talking about. This is what we received last year, primarily from TRF, but not associated with sponsorship of an individual sport or activity, or even sponsorship of a soccer team. Those would that would all under soccer itself, but more general. So when we got the donation, for example, from Living the Dream, this is where it was parked. We got the donation related to the beer run. This is where it would have came. So last year we got just over $19,000. We listed this under programs, but you can make an argument that maybe it doesn't need, it could have been split between programs and facilities, but there's no strings attached essentially with that revenue source. Rental income. This is rental at the community center, the Lynn's Place, the rec center, and from clubs or something that rent the Everest Park or German Park, and even there's a few birthdays and those kinds of things, pretty minor. No, boardroom is not in this fund. Boardroom is in the admin fund. Oh, okay. So that was all assigned to parks and facilities because that's where it's not really related to one of our programs. And then we have interest income. And this was, this income stream was divided up by percentage by expense. So when we tallied we did the same exercise by expenses and then went back and assigned interest income by expenses. So you can kind of see that this interest is earned on the fund's operating cash that's in the bank. you could come up with another way of assigning that interest, but that's what we did for this purpose. And this is actually, this is several years ago, this wasn't much. Now we have some real interest and, but probably dropping.
So on the interest, you're saying that the money that's cash sitting in the bank, almost 50% of it belongs to facility and 50% to programs.
We just divided it by the same percentages that expenses are incurred. We could do something differently, assign it by revenues, but this is really this is cash within the fund. And it's revenue, so.
I'm just thinking with programs though, technically the money that comes in goes out, right? Like, they get, like, when people pay for their fees for soccer and everything like that, that money gets supposed to get used for the expenses, so.
Yeah, but it
It's gonna
doesn't
be that
all, I mean,
much
so a lot
cash,
of
is
that
it?
money stays and covers like overhead costs, cause not like, so soccer. You'll see in the
Yeah.
below exercise, soccer brought in $145,000, but we don't have $145,000 in expenses for soccer.
So.
A lot of that money is going into to cover overhead,
Indirect.
Okay,
like,
so there is some cash, okay,
Yeah.
I see, okay.
but you could do, again, this is an area that you can say,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
we can assign it another way. It's
Yeah, it's not that.
miscellaneous income, we just split it between programs and parks and facilities equally. These are the income that's not, that isn't associated with one of the other categories. I can't even remember, it wouldn't have been a donation because we have this, or it could have been a donation, but wasn't part of fundraising. We do get some donations, people just, I'm donating money to Temple Parks and Rec, but not a part of a fundraiser. And then in this case, we assigned, we also get property taxes. And in 2021, the process we used is we assigned all of the property taxes to facilities until it netted zero, and then assigned the rest to programs. And we attempted to do that same thing this time, but as you'll see, even with assigning 100% of it just to the facility costs, cover facilities, it wasn't enough. We still didn't zero it out. So there was no extra property taxes. And you'll see that it'll be more apparent when you get to the expense side. So on the expenses, on the expense side, so that's how we divide up the revenues. And again, if you can make some other changes to the assumptions, and they might have some minor impacts. So wages or salaries are for our full and part-time employees, except for employees that are sports officials, because we categorize those separately. Like, so when we hire a soccer referee, those will show up exclusively in under this column that says officials for soccer. So the salaries do not include like the youth sports officials. They include everybody else. So that is Mel, Bree, John. Today it is Dustin and Henry. But throughout this fiscal year that we're talking about, it would have been also several different utility operators who open the parks every morning, or who were working, covering for our maintenance crew when we had absences or vacancies in that seat. So those are the utility costs, or for the parks maintenance folks, pretty easy to come by. When we divided up the costs for Mel, Bree, and John, we took a similar exercise as we did a couple years ago. And in talking to Mel and Natalie, try to come up with some estimates. So Mel's time here, we've assigned 2% solid waste. Mel runs our community cleanup day and also facilitates the clutter to cash. 20% to facilities. That's coordination for facility prep, etc. And things at the skate park, garden, and then 78% are programs. For John, smaller percentage to solid waste, smaller percentage to facilities, and a much larger percentage to programs. And then Breek has sort of a similar breakdown, smaller percentage yet to facilities, a little more for solid waste. Bree's kind of our point person on the clutter to cash program, and then more to programs. Her other main task is like concerts in the park, aside from like assisting with registration and office coverage. So that's how these costs here, that's how these costs were determined, this $295,000 broken down that way. I guess I wanna point out that,
Jeff, speaking of concerts in the park, where is the income for that? Oh, I see, never mind, second line, okay, yeah.
This, I do wanna point out something that's, it doesn't belong in this fund, like this solid waste. That's only $3,600, $3,300. That's this small amount of time from Mel, John and Bree. Like, I'm your primary solid waste person, but I don't work out of this fund. So we're not really capturing all of our
Yeah.
expenses. I mean, it's captured very indirectly, but, anyway,
What is this, key over here, solid waste 1.2%? Facilities 51.
let me go over, let's see if I can make heads or tails of it. Oh, this is a break, so when you come up with these percentages right here, this is how this ultimately gets, this is how this was determined between programs and facilities. See, that's the sum, that is the net.
Okay,
If you add those up, they're 100%.
yeah,
And so what ended up happening is Natalie used these percentages to also break down all the
Got it.
benefits costs, like
perfect.
FICA, retirement, everything else. So that became just kind of a master, calculation. Based on our hourly assignments. So then we have overtime, that's almost exclusively to, or it is exclusively to facilities, that's the overtime. This is something we weren't capturing very well years back. We open the, just so you know, we open the parks every day. So, including on weekends. So we have a utility operator that's on call that visits every site to open these facilities. They check for stocking of the restrooms, et cetera. So there's those costs get billed to parks. We close the parks every night. We have an employee that works every night at dark and locks the parks. Those costs are assigned to facilities. So the overtime is primarily that weekend duty. That opening of the parks, again, primarily. Then these are much more straightforward. All of the costs associated with officials are lumped into the programs. In terms of staffing for the officials are lumped into the program category. FICA, that same percentage we just talked about would break down the FICA and unemployment and workers' compensation in general. And then we separately break down and always have for these other sports activities. So we've always captured the hard costs for the youth sports activities for the staffing. So I feel, most of these numbers are pretty solid. The PERS retirement, this same percentage was used. And you can see the little notes here, same percentage of salaries. That's probably a simplistic way of viewing it because we actually end up with, in this case, 3 different retirement tiers and dozen employees hitting this account with different ratios and stuff. So this, you can take a different stab at this, but the numbers won't change a ton. If you wanted to kind of try to be more accurate, but we use the same percentages for salaries. And then health insurance, same percentage of salaries. Again, it gets complicated because we have 2 different health insurance programs. And this will even change pretty drastically because you might have one person who has their whole family covered and another person who's just an individual, employee only coverage. Then professional services, we went through each of these line items and try to determine where the costs belong, and so like professional service, but so I've got printouts of these if you kind of want to go through them. We basically kind of looked at these costs and said, well, geez, most of these professional services look like they're for example, one of the items is gopher control. It's a big dollar item and it's at the parks. So actually that ends up being under purchase services, I think. And then the recycling grant program, we actually awarded a couple grants out of the recycling grant program this past year. So those costs are under solid waste. They're hard costs. There were no legal expenses in Parks, Recs, or solid waste last year. Purchase services, again, we split this after reviewing the list kind of between programs and facilities. The cleaning costs are for the community center and the recreation center. There were no public notice costs, there's security costs, you know, we have monitoring for both, for these sites, community center and the rec center, those are assigned to these facilities. There was a tiny amount of money spent in conservation, probably related to the community cleanup day. And then supplies, there's a monster list of every supply we've bought. I kind of reviewed the list and Natalie did too. We said, well, we think that, you know, almost everything these were, you know, sprinkler parts and things associated with, you know, repairs of the minor repair items for parks and for facilities primarily. The sports activities all have a separate supply, program expense category. So when we're buying like soccer balls or uniforms, they're coming out of like soccer expense and they're coded that way. Let's see, so that was that supplies? Gases and chemicals, those are for stuff for the parks. Repair and maintenance for facility items. Vehicle, we assign to that's the vehicle that we have assigned to parks maintenance, so those costs are there. And then you're back to these, we've always done a good job of categorizing the program expenses for the main youth sports activities. So those come off, those are coded that way originally. Then you've got some miscellaneous programs. Again, miscellaneous program could be scoot camp, skate camp, something else that isn't happening regularly or routinely. Phone, we just use the same percentage that we had for salaries to split those costs up. So that's the phone services. Electricity, we assigned 75% to facilities and 25% to programs. That 25% is intended to represent the cost of like running the lights at Everest Park during soccer practice. Our soccer practice, not a rental. Water cost, that's, you know, this is a significant cost. That's water, that's water at almost exclusively at the parks and the well, at the parks, the recreation center, the community garden, community center, with Everest Park being the vast majority of that.
Quick question, Jeff. When we see, like program expense for each of the sports, broken down, for like example, basketball, do we pay for use of basketball? Yeah, do we pay the school district for use of their school gyms?
Yes.
And so would that be in, the basketball program expense?
Correct. We do a split based on the amount of time that we use. So our MOU now is somewhere around $6,500 to $7,000 total. So we'll split it among all of the sports based on the amount of time. So some goes to soccer, because we do use the middle school for soccer, but the bulk of it is going to go to basketball. And I want to say it's something like we do 75% to basketball. So.
And it's about, 7,000 a year?
It goes up
Annual
annually, it's a
MOU.
3-year renewal, and I think it's at about 7,000 right now.
It was renewed like just about,
Just this past.
maybe
July.
September of last year.
Yeah, that's
A
right.
little
It
over a year
expired,
ago.
it was expired for a couple of
Yeah,
months.
or maybe in
That's
August
right.
or September somewhere. Yeah, August probably is we did it right before.
But yeah, that is a direct cost captured into the expense accounts for the individual sports.
Thank you.
Let's see. Gas is, that's not vehicle gas, that's gas for, again, primarily the rec center and the community center, or maybe just exclusively the rec center and community center. I don't believe there's any gas appliances at the parks. Other employee benefits, this, we fund a health reimbursement account, so we split those costs up the same way we did other benefits in general. Education, this is, split up the same way we did salaries, classes and whatnot. Dues and subscriptions, similarly, we have a separate line item for community cleanup. And then probably the biggest remaining item, or the most significant one here that we allocated was this allocation of admin costs. We had last year was $159,000 total that was allocated to this fund. We divided those costs up by the expense percentage, which is essentially the same way the admin allocation system works. But you can, you can come up with another way of dividing those costs. But using these assumptions, again, minor changes can be made to the various assumptions. With those assumptions that are reviewed for the revenue, essentially what you get when you zero this out is overall, last fiscal year, the fund had revenues in excess of expenses of about $79,000. So we grew the fund balance by about $79,000. For solid waste, 238,000 of that was net positive. And then the facilities would have had an expense beyond its revenues, including all of the property taxes, of about $66,000. So, I guess from that point of view, you could argue that the solid waste franchise fees, again, using just this set of assumptions, is offsetting our facilities maintenance costs by about $66,000, and then about $92,000 in program costs above and beyond its revenues that were assigned to it. And so you could make the same argument that the franchise fees are covering about $92,000 of our rec program costs. It's kind of handy to go back, and I wish I could show you side by side, it might be easier, but to go back and look and see what's changed since 5 years ago. This is fiscal year 21-22. This was done in early in the fiscal year. So these are budget numbers, not actuals. That's why these are round numbers. Yeah. But I'll just put up, so one, we're bringing in about $75,000 more in solid waste franchise fees than we did back then. Our property taxes are up about $100,000. It's fiscal year 21-22, so significantly more in property taxes. When we got down to wages, we've increased by about $100,000, and the biggest area of increase is in the area of parks and facilities maintenance. We had back in this era, we had one maintenance worker assigned to parks, and we were not accurately accounting for the utility operators that would perform duties at the parks necessarily. Certainly not the weekends. Now we have 2 full-time employees dedicated to park and facility maintenance. So there's been a huge increase in this area and level of effort. Other costs that jump out at me, our water was $29,000 back that year. Our water rates have not changed since 2022. We're using 50% more water. We're paying 50% more for water. It's not necessarily we're using 50% more, but we're paying 50% more for water than we were. It's probably like we're using 50% more water because there's a tiered structure, but we're using way more water to keep the grass, to keep the facilities in better condition than we were 4 years ago. And by the way, this was an effort both to be conservative in use of water and to keep costs as low as possible. Because prior to merging these funds, we had every year essentially a deficit in the Parks and Recreation Fund. Once we merged them, that kind of temporarily solved it, or has solved it up until today. But and given us the ability to pour more resources into facilities maintenance, both on the water use and on manpower and equipment, etc. So there's been really significant changes in terms of the expected expenses particularly in facilities, but in the fund in general over the last few years.
So the water and sewer, that's paid to Templeton Community Service District?
It is.
Is there any way we could negotiate with ourselves?
Yes and no. It's a interesting topic because up prior to 2018, the district didn't charge for its own customers.
Okay.
There's an opinion that that's essentially unlawful under Prop 218 because essentially that means you as a customer, a water customer, were subsidizing the water use at the park with your water bill paid. So if we have all the same costs and we allocate it across fewer customers, then some of the customers were paying more so that the district didn't have to pay any. So there may be some very minor things you could do, but essentially, in order to comply with Prop 218, we've got to charge ourselves.
We can't go back to finish for free. Okay, stop.
Go well at the park.
Well, we have one there, but the well report, so yeah, there is a well at Evers Park. There's a well at German Park too that we do. So the well at German Park we use, in that well, it's my understanding that well does pretty well in the late winters, early spring times. It goes through fractured rock and it's enough to mostly keep up, but by summertime, it can't replenish enough water in the tank for irrigation demands. So we're supplementing it with more and more potable water as the year goes on until our irrigation demands subside. At Evers Park, we have a well that was dug for a different reason. And we actually it's probably in about 2019 or so, did some more, so we knew the water was of not good enough quality to ever serve the district. And so we did some sampling. We airlifted that well and got samples out and sent it into the labs. Basically, the well came back with not suitable for irrigation purposes, even with supplements. So it's a poor quality water. It would kill the grass, even with supplements. Wow. So that's kind of the analysis that we performed. I'm happy to try to answer questions. It really paints a different picture, I guess, than it did a few years ago. One thing that I want to highlight is, so we did again a very similar analysis. They're not apples to apples because one is based on actuals following a year. The other was based on budget at the beginning of the year, in the first year that we had merged the funds. So it was a little rougher to estimate. We took the same approach with regard to revenues, except for in this earlier analysis, we assigned all the property taxes necessary to zero out the facilities, and there was still $73,000 left over that could go to rec programs, and that's just no longer the case anymore. When we use these assumptions this time, you can see that it required all of the property taxes, and we still didn't hit zero. So we're spending essentially more than double the cost of facility maintenance than we were back then. So if you look at this calculation, our operating expenses, and then once you add in that's $533,000 in expenses, of which 464 are operating costs, and then just again 4 years ago, those costs were $237,000. Funded replacements were quite similar, so $300,000 total.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, back then, the deficit spending for the programs ended up being 96,000, and then this time is 92.5. So pretty close, right? You do the 73,000 plus.
Oh, if you subtract the 73,000 from the last analysis.
Yeah, so it's you do 73,000 because we took 73,000 from property taxes to zero it out, plus we still had 23,000 in that. Right, so it makes it 96,000.
Yeah, if you take away the property tax.
Yeah. So it's 96. But the concern is that how much that expenses have grown for parks and facility, and it's just not keeping up. It just, we were very fortunate that the solid waste franchise fee went up as much as they did, but they're not gonna go up that much anymore. It's kind of plateaued off. It's gonna be kind of stable type of thing as far as, the next couple of years, so.
This rental income is so low compared
Yeah.
to just the cost of maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the rental income, I'm sure look at the right column here. Yeah, this is current year, the last fiscal year. This rental income of $31,000. The community center, we've talked about before, we have sporadic use, all those community center expenses come out of the facilities costs, but are not necessarily allocated directly. I would, I'd be surprised if that wasn't a money loser in some way for the district. It's a service, right? And then there really isn't a whole lot at the rec center of regular rentals besides the preschool. We have the preschool, it runs 3 days a week seasonally, or, school year wise. I think there is occasionally some weeks in the summer, limited summer program. That's the steady renter. Otherwise, there's a few classes in there, but they're not gonna make the material dollars. And then our park rentals, Evers Park, we rent park space primarily to promoters. That's probably the wrong term, but people who are running a camp, like a soccer camp, and we allocate space to them, or club teams that need practice space and devoted to them, typically in the darker months when they want to use the lights. And some birthday parties. It's not a lot of money. There's not a lot in general, and we don't promote that because a whole lot, because we have real concerns about overuse of the facilities. In other words, the primary purpose of them is for our programs, and if we get too much outside usage, then the facilities can't degrade in quality in terms of the wear and tear on the turf itself.
And even our facilities, I mean, they need work. I mean, I know we have a repair list that we need to go through, so. I mean, it's challenging, so I mean, so it becomes a balance. Obviously, we have the facilities and the programs. And so we have to figure out, are we, is this okay? Or, because I could see that parks and facility expenses just continue to grow, and I know with the repairs and things like that, so. So what should TCSD's focus be, try to maintain and repair our facility? Or kind of leave them as is, and, so I mean, so basically, I'm seeing that there's, the RIC programs are deficit spending at $92,000. So that basically means the programs, we're not charging enough from the programs to make that zero. So, that's what that is, right? The programs need to bring in more money to make that zero.
The programs, in order for us to facilitate the programs, they rely on some sort of additional cash flow, whether it's coming from property taxes or now, in this analysis anyway, from
Mostly
from the franchise fees.
franchise fees, so, but I mean, to me, it's like, basically the income for the Parks and Rec is franchise fees and property taxes, so, I mean, I don't wanna split hair between the two, where it's coming from. It's like you putting the two together, and then we look at our expenses, so something, both the parks are negative and the programs are negative, so. Basically, we have to decide, I don't know what our policy is, or, I mean, if we just keep going at this rate, we're gonna be, whether it's next year or the year after, we're gonna be negative. So what we need to figure out something in order not to get to that point, because I wanna be able, for us to spend money on our facilities to, for our parks, for the buildings. I mean, our buildings are in really bad shape. So what is the solution?
I have a question. Last time we talked, Mel, you had mentioned that there was interest, from a lacrosse team to potentially rent some of our field space. Has that moved forward?
So they typically play in spring, and last spring, if you remember, we closed the parks, right, for maintenance, so I sent them somewhere else. So coming up in spring, yes, I'm sure they'll want to use the facilities again. It's a matter of whether or not we can let them, if we need to rest the fields, right?
And then, we had talked also, so baseball, cheer and football are managed, outside of TCSD, right?
Baseball, track football, yes.
Do they utilize any of our facilities and
No.
do they pay?
No, they use school district facilities and so they have their own agreement with the schools. And they pay significantly more than we do.
Yeah, cause I was thinking like, are there any changes there for field rental?
Yeah, and it's a balancing act, because really, we're trying to keep
Yeah.
so, and it's not just the rentals, by the way, and so the field, yes, you could make, our field rental prices aren't that high,
Right,
but the concern is overuse. I guess I'd also say is, we also have groups that come and use the fields without renting them, that can be pretty intrusive. In other words, I mean, sometimes I'll go by German Park, for example, and there's 60 people playing soccer there, and they just showed up. It's not a league we're affiliated with, they didn't reserve it from us, but it's open and they come and use it. And it's more than, it's not a pickup game, it's an organized activity.
Yeah.
That they figure out where they can get away with it, where they can come do it. I think those adults, bigger people, soccer is really brutal on the turf. There's all the cutting, and bigger.
I've seen that at Ivers also, that Cal Fire and.
Oh, yeah.
Our-
Cal Fire showing up.
Cal Fire shows up with
Yeah.
a true at our parks.
And they just have a baseball game there for themselves, so
Yeah, they show up and,
work out or whatever.
yeah, they have like a field day or something. Well, not a field improvement day, but a play day.
Definitely not.
Yeah, we have large groups that come and use the facilities. Sometimes they coordinate with us and sometimes they just they're open, right? They're open to the public. They're public use facilities. We don't anticipate that kind of use happening, but it does.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, for this fiscal year, the prior fiscal year, again, this is the year that ended, cursor, there it is. We still ended up to the good fund wide of $79,000, but our current budget does not reflect this sort of surplus. So,
But we're trying to look to the future, because, yeah. I mean, it's shocking, it's like we have the property taxes and we're doing the solid waste franchise fees and we still like get so close, that's just like, it's frustrating. When we moved over everything from solid waste, I thought, that's it, we're set with parks for a long time, but it's only been a few years and we still.
well, we've increased we've taken
Yeah.
steps, and it's on me. I mean, I said, I thought we had enough money to devote more manpower to parks maintenance.
Well,
And,
we have to.
I mean, yeah.
They were
Yeah.
falling
It's a
apart. I
priority.
mean, last year, we were talking about, with a lot of problems. So I mean, we have to do that. I mean, for the safety of the kids, I mean, we want to do that, make sure if the parents are paying the money to play on the fields, we gotta make sure that we are giving them a field that they could play on.
you know, and I think it's been, they're not revolutionarily different, but I think we're getting fewer complaints than we were a couple years ago in terms of field
Yeah,
conditions.
there's been a big improvement.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and I think that should be our focus, like,
Yeah.
continue to do that, so.
And I can see when I look at the budget, Mel, you had mentioned earlier that like the programs pay for themselves in terms of like.
Without the overhead, but
Right,
yes.
exactly. So like I can see that each sports program, like I checked for both 2021 and 24-25, that, yeah, the direct costs are covered by the tuition. But yeah, it's the indirect, so like, I think that makes me think about the way that we structure our programs. And I think we had talked about this a little bit, like that kind of, I look at this table here about the different leagues and like who manages and operates them. Because if we can't chip away at like the cost for maintaining our properties, our facilities, where can we chip away at some of those indirect costs that like, all of these officials, that you have, and then the FICAs, SUI taxes, and then of course, the charging to salary time, to programs and facilities. And so reallocating those in a different way too. Because it's the indirect stuff.
And then, yeah, and you know, it's like, yeah, you have the expense and the revenue, and I think, with revenue, we're charging about 185 now for locals, or,
It varies by sport.
Yeah.
It's in the table. I think it's on
So
number
here-
5.
Yeah, the next item actually goes, or 2 items down go.
yeah,
But it is, I would say an average of probably around 180-ish,
Which-
you know, before late fees or.
which it compares to the surrounding area.
We're a bit higher than everybody else, with the exception of flag football.
Because I
Yeah,
know
we're
that
higher, yeah.
They charge 185, or they charge, like, I think Atascadero charges 185.
For,
Which sport?
Yeah, for their sports, yeah.
No,
No.
for which sport?
Oh,
Varies.
for,
Varies.
I mean, we have this item on, it's 2 items down.
Oh.
Okay. Right. So, it's, yeah, I mean, I think, it was their, football, their football program, they charge, 185, I believe, at Atascadero.
So Tuscadero doesn't have a flag football program, but,
Well, it's not
Slow
the city,
and
the-
Paso have one. They don't, Tuscadero doesn't have a flag football program. Slow and Paso have one. And they're about $200 and something run by, basically it's a private, yeah, it's a private entity, it's a franchise. Paso is Next Level Athletics. Slow is Friday Night Lights, I think.
So, yeah, so at Atascadero, the youth soccer, little league baseball, Babe Ruth baseball, girls softball, and youth football, they're all, like, Atascadero doesn't have anything to do with that, they have volunteer groups that run it. And, I'm pretty sure, and then same thing with the, soccer, yeah, that's the football, I'm sorry, that's soccer. So yeah, the soccer, and they charge $185. And they're all part of the parents volunteer program. So if they're charging 185 and we are somewhere around there, I think that's where the difference is, you know, we have our staff running the
Right.
programs versus volunteer parents, so. So is there an appetite in looking at our programs? Considering that we run a, different, model.
Yeah,
So is there an appetite looking at the fees that we're charging? And I think even if we, we raise it $20-25, we could make a, it would make a difference. By, $20,000-$30,000 in our budget.
I mean, I don't know if we wanna, I don't know if this is a separate topic.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. So let's move on and then we'll talk
Can
about
we go back to
Okay.
salaries again? I wanna see something over there. For, yeah, go down toward, the FICA and the, yeah, do we have to pay that for all the officials?
Everybody's an employee, yeah, so all the payroll
We
taxes,
can't call them independent contractors and, no,
no, we don't, the IRS will come knocking,
oh, really?
oh yeah,
Yeah, those rules changed about,
20 years ago.
10, 15 years ago, yeah. Where, if you write their schedule, tell them when they're coming to work, or provide any equipment for them, they're not independent contractors. So,
I mean, so what ends up happening is because we're not a big dog, but I mean, if you were running your own little soccer league with 3 teams and you paid your referees under the table with cash, probably never gonna get caught. But we file with the IRS and, yeah,
Yeah, so they can't, we can't have them listed as independent contractors.
they're not independent.
They're not.
We train them, we provide their uniforms, we give them a whistle, we tell them when they have to be there, we assign their schedules, they
The only
don't.
way around those fees would be to restructure the way that we operate, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if you can get away from the employment side. I mean, so you're right, though. 30 years ago, officials were all paid like a fixed amount and they were all kind of cash arrangements, even through cities and stuff, but IRS has really cracked down. I mean, the rules are really are strict, and we're I mean, I wouldn't recommend we take a chance with violating. it.
Well, no.
Because it's gonna end up landing here and they're gonna look at everything and,
Yeah.
well, we got something something else we,
Forgot to do.
get whacked on the wrist for.
Any,
And we end up having, so it's, because, all of those sports officials are district employees.
Okay, so. Got it.
okay. So, thank you very much for the report.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think you can attack some of the assumptions a little bit here and there, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
probably
not that
change
much.
the bottom line by a whole lot.
And I think it's something good to do this either annually or every other year or something. It's informative, so keeps us on track. Okay, if no other questions, we'll go to the next topic, California Parks and Recreation Society.
All right, this is,
CPRS.
Ooh, that's me. All right, California Park and Rec Society, we are a member agency of the California Park and Rec Society. It's honestly, it's a professional agent, there you go. It exists as a professional society to advance the parks and recreation across California. It's very similar to like CSDA, which we are also a part of, right? In fact, a lot of parks and rec agencies are special districts, right? There's parks districts, recreation districts, who are also a part of CSDA. So it's kind of interesting to see some of the overlap there. I am on the state board of the California Park and Rec Society for my second year on it. I'm the Region 3 rep, which consists of the counties of Fresno, Madera, Mono, Tulare, Kings, SLO, Santa Barbara, Ventura, Kern, Inyo, and parts of LA County. So I have that's what I represent. Basically, all of the Central Coast, all of the Central Valley, all the way over to Nevada. So it gives me direct access to all of those people too, right? All of those member agencies. And so it's not, the county of Fresno, it's every city within the county of Fresno that is, not every city, but many of the cities are a part of the CPRS. So it's pretty cool. It gives me fun access to sort of networking with these people all over the state. It's kind of we joke that Parks and Rec is a beg, borrow, and steal industry. We are not private industry. These are not ideas that we have that are gonna make everybody $1 million. They're not patented, right? So we all get to share these innovative ideas and events and programs that everybody offers. There's a ton of education that goes along with this. In fact, it's even one of the main parts of CPRS is the access to the workshops, the conferences, certification programs. There's the Certified Park and Rec Professional. Technically, that's through NRPA, but there's balancing through CPRS. CPRS is the biggest Parks and Rec agency or society, because it's a 501c4 in the nation after NRPA, which is the National Recreation and Parks Association. So I'm doing a financial sustainability workshop in November 17, 18, 19, something like that. It's being held in Cayucas. It's through CPRS. We're hosting Fall Forum District 8, which is SLO, Santa Barbara, Ventura counties. We're hosting a Fall Forum series of workshops in Solvang for the billionth year. So we get to meet with everybody in District 8. Everybody comes in and attends these. We get all these educational workshops going. Opportunities for leadership development, professional growth. There's industry partners that are a part of this. So vendors, right? We're talking about playgrounds at our park improvement plan. I've got like 4 people who want to help us build playgrounds, right? And some of them are like, no, really, like, let me at it and we will donate some of this, right? So if we can connect them with the right people who may or may not be MIG, we might be able to get some killer playgrounds built at Evers when we get going on this park improvement plan. There's access to like best practices, resources, there's publications and toolkits. We have a VIP action plan. There's an advocacy section made up of folks who are on the commissions or on the boards that their entire job as a section of CPRS is to advocate for the Parks and Recreation industry. So we get things like Prop 68 out of this, right? Where the lawmakers go, you know, successfully get bond measures, right? And give that money back to agencies in California, right? So some of them create larger grant programs, some of them are more competitive, and a lot of that money is gonna go to underserved areas, lower socioeconomic areas. We got the park improvement plan because of Prop 68, because of a specific section in that was a per capita allocation for every agency in California. And if you had had a program that would be willing to take it and ready to go within this X amount of years, you are allocated that $177,000, whatever it was. And so, yeah, so this is one of those fantastic things. John is on also a part of CPRS. He's a member. Templeton is a member agency. John is a member. I'm a member. We go to a conference every year. This year it's coming up in 2026, but it's in Long Beach in March, and there will be 3 days of just heavy hitting classes, right? I teach some of them at this point. But then we get to, you know, develop mentors and little minions everywhere, little mini Mel's everywhere I go. And so we also sit on the District 8 board, which, as I mentioned, was Ventura, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo counties. Currently, the District 8 board is made up of people from the city of Paso, Templeton, city of Atascadero, Morro Bay, county of Ventura. We've got the Conejo Valley Parks and Recreation District, Rancho Cini is in there, just folks up and down the Central Coast. So it kind of gives us access to how all of these departments are run, what they're all doing. It's a really unique view, and yeah, that's, I think, what I have to say about Parks and Rec Society. It's a lot. It's fantastic. Sitting on the state board's actually been a really cool opportunity to get, you know, more information on how everybody else is doing what they're doing. So, and the number one thing that I've noticed is the funding differences, frankly. So, and how cities and counties are funded versus special districts and things like that. So,
Yeah.
and what they're able to offer. So, as a result of that. So, yeah, CPRS is really cool. Really cool.
Funding is not there.
Even on here, there's, I don't know, it's kind of blocked out by Carrie's little thing, but if I were to log in, right, they have a communities page, and it's like a sort of a social media side of this website where we can connect with people. Just today, I saw someone from the city of South San Francisco is building new locker rooms and CSDA has this too, where you can post, you know, questions about how people are doing. So they're building new locker rooms, and they want to know, you know, what are some best practices for setting policies for locker room use, right? And people are flooding them with policies, like putting their entire packets and uploading them and sharing them across. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Always nice to network.
Yeah.
Great, well, thank you for.
Vast amounts of knowledge.
We've been an active member of CPS for many years, and, you know, Mills.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Mel's the best, so they're better.
Oh, like-
I
I can on
think your
stage.
board's
That's
about,
my
like,
board,
making
actually.
people Super
Huge.
special and important, like,
Yeah.
it's not competitive,
It's not at all, not at all.
nice.
We had, during COVID, we had, so Kenny was here, right? And we were talking about what kind of programs we can offer. I was like, we need to do, you know, we can do outdoor programs once we were, you know, things were safe enough to do this. And we'll call them pod programs. They're practice-only development programs. People up and down the state of California were like, Mel, what are you doing over there? How are you getting them to go? What are your, so we sent them all of our policies, all of the, you know, practice plans that we developed for these different, different sports. And so there are pod programs up and down the state. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh, that's really cool. Thank you for sharing. Any questions for Mel on this? Okay, thank you, thanks for your hard work. All right, next, comparison of youth softball, basketball, and flag football programs.
Yeah, so this is the, so if you recall, in our last meeting, we did a comparison for soccer.
Yeah.
And then Mel's now put this together for the other main youth sports programs that we offer. And so we attached that, and so here is basketball, and basketball is our next season. Actually, I think registration closes in a week and a half or something, or maybe.
Yeah, 31st for regular rate, November 1st and 2nd are late fees.
So here's a list of the area, basketball, youth basketball programs, and then who runs it. So these are put together the same format that we did the soccer program. Here's the league or the community, who it's operated by. Basketball is one that has more city participation than some of the other sports, and that's primarily because they own the gym space, in terms of the municipalities. We don't, but, and then where they're played, how large the program is, and then what the registration cost is for the current year.
The registration costs that we charge that is listed on each of these pages for each respective sport, is that the fee for residents?
Yes, yes. We have 2 out-of-district fees. One is $15 for participants who live outside of TCSD boundaries, but are Templeton School District kids that go to Templeton schools. And then it is $50 if you live in and go to school outside of Templeton.
And that's the same uniform for every sport, so.
Every sport.
Okay, so 15 for not a resident, but a TCUSD student.
TUSD, yes, correct.
And then $50 for if you're not affiliated at
You
all.
live in Atascadero and go to school in Atascadero, but wanna be my problem, you're gonna pay $50. Or if you wanna be my helper.
Yeah.
We do often, I think it's in the policy too, where we'll waive that fee if you are a coach, if you're a head coach.
Okay,
The $50 will waive that fee because you're actively participating in making this program work.
Shut that off, like, okay. Yeah, okay. So, so that's, basketball.
can I ask questions about each individual sport?
Sure.
Okay, do you know anything about the operation of, and the partnership with Channel Islands YMCA?
I don't know the specifics with, like, City of Slow partners with them where they all do all the work, right? I don't know the specifics of how that works. I think that it is larger because I think it also involves some childcare stuff. But I can get my hands on whatever their agreements are.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know because,
So that YMCA has operations in those communities, so like.
there's a
if that-
YMCA in Paso.
Yes,
So
It's at the
is,
Centennial Gym.
so is
Yes.
that's what I was gonna ask, so like, is that a requirement to partner with the YMCA, is to
Yes.
have?
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to come in here without having like a presence. They would have to have a space to be, and that would very likely be the rec department, so. I'll also say Paso does not like the YMCA,
Interesting, okay.
not the city, I'm not
Yeah.
speaking for the city,
Yeah,
speaking for the people, because we have 385 players. And a lot of them are Paso.
okay, so you believe that, having a physical YMCA
I think it's
property is a
yeah.
requirement to partner with them? Yeah, cause I was just interested because I was like, oh, that's a non.
yeah, it's not just a basketball program, they actually run a year-round, program at Paso Robles, the YMCA has a
Okay.
presence there.
They have
It's like an after-school.
childcare,
Yeah,
they've got
it's a
other
permanent-
programs
it's a
there.
permanent.
Yeah. And it's housed in the Paso Centennial Gym space.
Okay, that's my question for basketball. I have a question for softball. How large is our volunteer board that helps to oversee?
We just had a meeting last night and there were 4 people there out of 5. One of them is in Harvest right now. So, they are actually actively recruiting, so.
And what do they do?
So they do field work days as we head into the season. They kind of churn the dirt and, get the fields in condition to play. They fundraise beyond for the items that softball requires a lot of equipment, both field equipment and, sports equipment, right? So they'll fundraise for items that are beyond what we have the ability to pay for.
That Fundraising, where would that come in under?
So they buy things, they don't give us the money, they buy the
Okay,
things,
okay, got
right?
it.
So they'll give us the softballs, they'll give us the plates or the bases, right? What have they bought recently? They're interested in buying some backstops to replace, like going 50-50 maybe to replace some of the backstops at the parks. So it's kind of a case by case. And then come all-star season, we back out. I don't run all-stars. So they kind of take over as the primary on that. And all-stars is frankly, it's a big fundraiser for their program. And same for soccer, actually. Where they break even, but they end up making money. We charge them for lights. Softball doesn't often use lights because of the timing of the all-star program. It's longer days. But soccer, for example, will pay for the lights that we turn on for them. So we'll get about $1,300 or so from that. So.
Okay, so do they do any of the management of the assignments of teams or anything like that, or is that?
Oh, yes, they're involved in that, absolutely. So it's primarily us that, it's a little bit of both. They're involved in making the teams. They're there for draft nights, right? And they manage, parts of it, right? But I'm like the boss of it, right? Or John, depending. Cause with the rotating board, you'll often get rotating ideas of how to do things or different memories of how things are done. And we have a very specific team creation process that helps build balanced teams. We just they'll be involved in it, and we just kind of make sure that they follow the process, right? So a lot of times what you get with all volunteer programs is teams that, the one guy's on the board and he gets all the all-star players, and then the other guy has no idea who anybody else is, so he gets them, right? And then we have game scores of like 11-0, right? Where nobody's learning anything,
Right.
so.
Okay, so, but yeah, so you oversee all of the team assignments, so you would prevent a scenario.
Yeah, typically, yes, yeah. And we make sure that all the coaches, are, fingerprinted, background checked, take their safe sport program, right? All of those things too.
And this is the one program of these three that is kind of fading. And it may be
Yeah.
regionally, not just in Templeton. Softball, you can see the numbers from last year, 100 players.
Yeah.
That's what was that, 15 years ago?
Oh gosh, when I first started, it was 21 years ago, there were probably 250 kids playing. It was more than double this.
Are they migrating just to baseball?
No, baseball numbers are going down a little bit too. It's really the sport of softball, right? And some of frankly, I think it's a lot, when you ask kids what the problem is, it's the parents. So softball is a long and slow sport, and it gives people lots of time to sit around and complain about things, or it is also a sport where nothing happens in a game without a judgment call by another human being. And we're in a phase right now where everybody likes to argue about everybody's judgment calls, right? And so if you're 9 years old and there's somebody who is yelling every time an umpire says ball or strike or out or safe, and we waste time on doing that, then we're not doing anything like playing softball, right? So.
How come, Passo's rates are so much higher?
So Passo's rates include payment to the Paso Youth Sports Board. There's like a youth sports coalition or something in Paso. And if you're a member of the Youth Sports Coalition, you get facility rental rates at city parks and school facilities for something like $2 an hour, right? So for example, Paso Youth Softball rents Barney Schwartz Park for, I think it's going up this year to $3 an hour, right? And they use Pfeiffer Elementary School for something like $2 an hour, and it's all because they're a part of the Youth Sports Council. And so that $250 includes the payment for every individual to be a member of the Youth Sports Council.
Is there a reason, that we have been able to develop a volunteer board with softball, but not with either basketball?
We used to have one with basketball. It just kind of went to the wayside because we run it, I think, right? There stopped being things to do. Some of the folks, a lot of what they would want to do is try to develop, like fundraising activities, like sell swag, right? Or start an all-star program, right? For things that are after what we do. And I've always said, it's all well and good. I can have a high school team. I don't care. We can have an all-star program. We need someone to run it, but we need someone to play against. And if no other community in our town, in our area is building an all-star program, then neither are we,
Right.
right? So it takes a lot of collaboration. So, we do have the sort of mechanism in place. I've got bylaws and everything in place for having a basketball board. We just haven't invoked it in a while. Nobody's been
Are the folks
asking for it.
who are on
Typically, it happens when people are upset with what we're doing, and no one's been that upset.
Are the folks who are on the softball board super passionate about softball? Or, okay, so they wouldn't potentially be interested in,
One of them
Serving
might,
on
he
a volunteer
coaches basketball as well. But yeah, not this particular group. Well, I'm actually, yeah, not that particular group, so. I think softball board, we're in a rebuilding season, so we just had like 3 people quit or drop out because their kids started aging out, right?
okay,
So, we do have a whole group of parents that are at Evers on Sundays, right? And they're a part of our program, they're registered to our program. These kids are doing like 8U and 10U, sort of a fall ball program on Sundays. Where 2 members of the board, who are also coaches for us, are doing tons of like clinics and games and stuff and sort of rebuilding love of the game with the kids. So I think and basically getting buy-in from their parents for this is how the program's gonna be running, right? Like positivity and all of that. So I think what'll end up happening is we'll get some of those folks to jump in on the board this year, so. For the 2026 season of softball.
and what about, what about getting them to be interested in doing field work prep for football?
We could do a flag football. Well, flag is hard because it's summertime, right?
Hot.
It's hot and everybody's out of town, right? So we have to put 2 coaches on every team, because there's family travel plans, right? Or I don't do a whole lot when we're, so that team creation process is very simple. I just run a little thing through my system and pull players out, and it's very like, Excel sorting, right? And it's very simple to make those teams because everybody almost within reason gets just about whatever they want. Because there's no point in trying to build parity among the teams. Cause at any given moment, your best player is gonna be gone, right? Or your worst player is gonna be gone, or whoever's gonna be, your coach is gonna be gone, right? So we'll build teams of 10 players, right? And 11 players, and we play 5-on-5, and we will still have teams that are like, I need to borrow a kid because all my kids are out of town this week, right?
Well, and
So,
part of that is
'cause
because.
it's summertime.
Well, and we do flag football on Friday nights. So it's a different kind of,
Fridays and summer, yeah.
it's a more casual program.
Very casual.
But you wanna scroll down, and I don't know if you were done with softball, or
Yes.
maybe you were.
I was waiting for questions.
So, it's that one there,
What?
sure, I can never find that cursor either.
I didn't know where it was.
So here's Flag. Flag is the most recent program we've had, but it's been probably 10 years now.
Yeah, Kenny did it, so yeah, probably.
2015 maybe,
Yeah.
maybe somewhere in there. So fewer of them. And also this is one where where there's not consistency in like in soccer and basketball, they're the same time of year, we actually interleague with those other communities and not in flag football.
Correct.
Yeah, it's just exclusively ours, and you can see that the other places it's offered, it doesn't even necessarily, overlap with when we do it.
This is the first year that we did it, or?
No, about 10 years,
Oh, that's good, yeah.
but it's the most recent program we've added.
Okay, got it.
The other ones have existed 30 years or, even a long time.
Longer, yeah. When I was reffing soccer in high school for Templeton CSD, I got paid by the game. And then because I got paid by the game, I couldn't buy back my service credit.
Is registration for all of these, so you mentioned softball sort of in decline? Are the others increasing, steady?
They're pretty stable. Soccer has gone, if you looked at like our numbers in 2019 and then 2021, because we didn't do a season in 2020. 2021, we had something like 900 plus players, right? And it was specifically because we knew we were gonna be able to have a program. City of Paso didn't know, not city, but the Paso AYSO didn't know if they were gonna be able to have a program or not. So we advertised that it was happening and we got most of their kids, right? So that was a balloon,
Yeah.
right? That was not indicative of, and frankly, we cannot handle that number, right? So if you look at the
That's
number
because of
from there to
anomaly, yeah.
here, right, exactly. We're at about 750, I think, this year, which is pretty stable. We would typically hit about 800 prior to COVID. A lot of that was the high school division. We don't have a high school boys division anymore because simultaneous to this, the CIF, the high schools moved from southern section CIF to central section CIF. And those rules are different for when you need to have downtime, right? So they can now have downtime basically whenever they want. They have to have 2 weeks off a year. Their 2 weeks off a year is gonna be during the fair. So the boys that play soccer, they don't play rec with us anymore. They're doing some school team stuff at the schools.
Well, like a year-round activity.
Yeah.
A little more, yeah, exactly. Cause they can stay together. So, or they do workouts. They don't have the same, southern section required them to be dark, I think, for the 3 weeks prior to their season, right? So.
But also keep in mind, so our school district population was sort of steadily growing in the 90s and 2000s and
and
early
now we're at a-
2010s. And now it's been very flat and actually declining for,
Right.
so certainly since COVID, maybe a little bit pre-COVID. We didn't hit they had some predictions from 12 years ago when they did the first bond measure that there would certain amount of growth would occur, and actually we're smaller now than we were then. So our numbers, there's just not necessarily more kids in Templeton.
Yeah. And then what about, the flag football steady too?
So, yeah, that has been actually a bigger increase.
Great.
But I think the last couple of years, we've kind of stabilized at about 3 to 350.
And then Nell put together this little sheet that tries to summarize all the different youth sports programs offered by the same jurisdictions.
Yeah, this is great.
The big absence for us in this chart anyway is aquatics. And as you know, we have no facility in this community there is now a Templeton Tennis Ranch, but not a public facility.
Listen, the county will give us the park, guys. Just not,
No money.
no money to take care of it. Every time I see them,
The pool.
yeah, every time I see Tanya's like, hey, you want a park? I'll sell it to you for $1.
Oh, what's,
It's Youth Evolution Sports, so City of Paso it's sort of a private group that comes in and contracts to run their classes, right?
oh,
So it's like a 5th grade class of basketball, right?
okay. And the same thing for like Smart Start. whatever.
Smart Start is itty bitties, they're like 3 and 4 year olds.
In futsal, we used to run a futsal program prior to flag football at the school district sites,
Yes.
but it wasn't.
That was our summer program. So we did that before Wall to Wall opened in Paso Robles. So with wall to wall opening, everybody just goes there, cause it's a killer setup over there. It's always fun. I didn't put T-ball on there, I just realized, under softball, cause we do operate, like City of Tascadero's got a T-ball program, we have a T-ball program as well. We have about 100 kids, give or take, that participate in it.
So, with City of Morro Bay, Kenny's still there, right?
Yes, yeah.
So he's probably.
Well, he adopted all of those programs. He hasn't
Yeah.
started anything
Oh,
new.
he did.
Yeah, those were all programs that were in existence prior to,
But yeah, City of Morro Bay, they have all different funding resources and everything
Absolutely.
like that. So,
and they have much
Of all
smaller
the-
programs.
of all the, so as far as CSDs are concerned, what other ones, San Miguel doesn't have parks.
So, yeah, so very few have recreation
Yeah.
or Parks and Recreation Act as a quote unquote an active power. And so if there's an activity going on in Napomo or Cambria, Cambria does, but they don't run youth sports. Napomo doesn't, I don't know where the kids in Napomo do them, they may be
So none of
nonprofits
the
running that.
CSDs really have any of
They
this.
like, yeah, they just do the parks.
Well, generally not, most of your peers, agencies do not,
So the county
not-
takes care of the.
or there is
parks.
none.
Well, like Cambria has facilities or. parks.
Cambria has open, I bet they have parks, but it's really open space, they really manage,
Yeah.
that area called Fiscalini Ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really
But-
hiking,
So like,
and
Napomo takes care of their parks.
I don't, if there's a park there, it's a
There's
county
a
park.
park in Napomo. It's a regional park. There's a skate park they just built there by the county. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it. But there's a big regional park there.
And then same thing with San Miguel, the county takes care of.
San
the
Miguel has a
open
park that
space.
is a carbon copy of Templeton.
But as far as the programs there,
There's
yeah, well, they're not ran by the CSD, if there is a program, like, I don't know, do you know if San Miguel has soccer?
San Miguel has a soccer program. A bunch of parents just put it together. They probably play at the county park whenever they decide to show up. Or they go into Paso, where there's another soccer program in Paso. Something Oak program, that a lot of the Spanish speakers play.
And what about Los Osos?
Los Osos has a youth soccer program, South Bay Soccer Association. And then, other than soccer, the kids go to Morro Bay, City of Morro Bay, right?
So it's-
Remember, Los Osos and Morro Bay are weird.
Same school district.
Los Osos has the middle school, Morro Bay has the high school, and so it's all the same kids,
Yeah,
right?
so Los Osos doesn't have, doesn't do any, rec programs.
No, but
The
city, you're talking about
CSD.
Los Osos CSD?
CSD.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
The soccer program is
I
not
think
affiliated.
Napomo CSD has the recreation,
No.
right? They don't? Okay. I
They don't.
talked to someone down in Napomo about basketball. Maybe he was through a school district.
Yeah, so that's another example, so it's not uncommon for school districts to run some programs like either aquatics or basketball, cause they have the facilities.
Paso School District is a good example of that. They have a lot of, like elementary school, sports programs that are run through their elementary school athletics departments, so.
Yeah, like Avila and Avila, yeah, they,
Avila.
yeah.
Or recreation. Most of them don't have, most of them don't have parks and recreation activity active, and then they serve a certain population, and we have more of a family population here, although it's aging a little bit. Compared to like Morro Bay, where you have fewer young people living there, more seniors.
No, I looked up the other, just one last thing on softball, I looked up the other volunteer boards, cause it looked like Paso had volunteer boards. For softball, and they all are like 11 plus people, which I thought was interesting to run a similar size program.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Tuscadero.
I'll be honest, if you look at like active members, on the boards, they're probably a little lower than 11.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, that's kudos to our board, serving the same amount of players.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
we have, we've made that possible by
Yeah,
us providing.
Exactly.
financial
No,
services.
yeah.
So the parents don't have to interact a lot with the volunteer board, right? If they register through TCSD. They get all the communication through TCSD. It's not, I guess I've got more experience with like Little League, because my wife was on the Little League board for like 7 years. And yeah, she was a player agent, so we had to, every participant, we had to get information on, and verify residency, and so it's a big job.
thank you for this.
Yeah.
I know we had asked for it, so thank you.
Any other questions? All right. And finally, programs update.
All right, we have programs, they cost you money. So we are in the middle of soccer season. We know we're at the end of soccer season, actually. The last day of games is gonna be Saturday, November 8th for U10, 12, and 14s. The younger kids, U6, U8s, and then the high school girls division will end on November 1st. Soccer's just shredding it this year. It's gonna be a good time. They're gonna start up with some all-star stuff pretty quick here, so. We are in the midst of basketball registration, looking like another season similar to years past. We have a Bad Birds basketball club program that runs through Templeton. And they typically run summer and fall, and then winter, those kids will come play basketball with us. And then in the spring, they'll go back to Bad Birds, so it's just that spring, summer, fall. But that's gonna be very exciting. We're in the midst of that. We are participating in the Trick or Treat on Main Street on Friday of next week. Actually, Halloween, which is when we go trick or treating. So we have a bunch of middle school kids that, so the rec department's kind of got some like drop-in kids that show up every day after school. They go play basketball out back or whatever. We have some kids that are gonna be doing the haunted house again. So we're gonna create a little small haunted house walkthrough for Trick or Treat on Main Street. With the rules of there's a red light and a green light, and a red light does mean you can make them pee their pants, but a green light is everybody talk to the kids that are walking through right now, right? Let's not scare them more than they want to be scared, or maybe the adults, but typically it's the kids. So it'll be a fun little haunted house. We are working with a little committee to develop some sort of a Christmas activity or a holiday event that's not too intense on staff time, but does something to promote, a holiday event for Templeton. It's kind of a big area that we lack, right? We have something for almost everything else. There's no holiday event, so we'll figure something out with that. We're gonna meet up, I think, next week to further organize something with that. We've got some art classes that are taking place at the rec department on Wednesdays. They're actually probably just finishing up right now. With Art Ventures Slow, who pays us rent, and they get about 10 kids or so that participate in that. But it's been good. It's a slow start, but it's going pretty well. And then I am fielding calls almost daily. Could be an exaggeration, but several times a week, to start a volleyball program. So looking into ways to make that happen, it would likely be something in the summer when the gyms are available, if we're going to do something like that. So I'm kind of looking at what that might look like. And if we can get enough help to make it work, what would end up happening? So frankly, we'd have to do it during time when we can get gym space, and that the only time I can see that happening right now with the schools is gonna be summer. Cause in the spring, there's boys volleyball that happens in the gyms, so.
Just need to build a gym.
Just need to build a gym, or the schools to actually build a third gym when they make Vineyard Elementary School, middle school, and build a gym, and no big deal. Well, I'm in talks with the school districts, so we'll see what happens with that. So yeah, the programs are going really well. Yeah, we get lots of we get feedback individually about specific instances or incidents that have to do with really personality issues or interpersonal conflict or poor coach behavior or poor parent behavior. But generally, the feedback on the programs that we operate is pretty positive, so that's always good to hear. Park improvement plan, we are trying to improve our park, and the county is like, no. So I believe MIG, we got an email today or yesterday or today about, they're putting some finishing touches on things. Last night you guys approved a budget adjustment, to pay for the couple of things that need to get done for the county. But I think resubmittal is going to be happening either later this week or early next, so we'll go for round 4, see what kind of comments we get.
Another 6 months probably. They
We'll
make
see.
their way.
We'll see. We'll see. So yeah,
Thank
that's what's happening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions? For me? Okay, all right. Future agenda items, anybody? Okay, we have.
So we had identified some items from the last meeting that we quite frankly knew this meeting was gonna be already long meeting, and so we.
A couple of hours.
We had planned to put together like some sort of comparison of classes, because I think that's an area that some of our neighboring communities put more resources towards than we do, and it might be helpful for you to see how that kind of comparison contrasts. And then we will have an update for you on some Everest Park, or some maintenance issues in general, and a kind of odd tree situation out at Everest Park. And then also we've tried to do for the last 2 meetings, a site visit. We wanted to, we got feedback, you want to do some site visits. But you know, here we are 2.5 hours in the meeting, we haven't got to that yet. And actually, we still can, I mean, we still walk over there to the sites if you'd like to, or we can place that on the next meeting agenda.
I have to leave by 5:30, so.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's in like 3 minutes, so you're not gonna get,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be a drive-by visit.
When we do that next visit, at our next meeting, when we talk about maintenance, can we also discuss if there's any maintenance that needs to be done there?
At the site, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the goal, is to kind of just get a hands-on facilities update.
Yeah.
And again, we've kind of, you know,
I'm still shocked that there's no Wi-Fi over at
the community center.
I know. I mean, there's barely Wi-Fi here.
I mean, it's a legitimate matter.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, that's a new cost. And
No,
that-
no, yeah.
and so,
But I think like, yeah.
yeah, what do we,
What other things? I
yeah.
don't know.
So absolutely, and so I guess I'm thinking like we should probably get another meeting scheduled before the end, you know, just so we can cover the topics we already know you wanna look at, which were these ones from last time, and, you know.
You wanna do it now?
Last time you told us we were too productive and that the committee was meeting, more efficiently.
Yes, well,
than
how
other
often,
committees.
we can schedule it, I'm missing some,
Yeah.
like,
Oh.
Carrie's not here, she went home, she had to leave at 5, and I don't have on my person the availability of this room and those kind of things.
That's fine.
So it does take us a little effort to put together
Okay.
that.
Alright.
But we can do something,
Yeah.
you know, while this makeup of the committee exists.
Yeah.
But let me know if there's topics before, is there other topics that you want other than the ones we've identified?
Well, I know we've talked about, you know, our, the fund analysis, how we run programs and things like that, but I'm still concerned about in terms of budget, where we're gonna be, you know, next year or a couple of years from now, and I think something needs to be tweaked or changed or in that aspect, so I don't know if there's an appetite to look at an overall picture, you know, an item, or just hold off and let's wait to see, I guess, where the budget's gonna be like in a year or two.
Well, I think that like those items that we have slated for our next meeting, I think of them as the importance of having those conversations is the background being the budget. So I think after, you know, revisiting the budget again with whatever outcome we have. If we have a finding from the community classes structure or an understanding of like what maintenance needs to be done in order for us to really capitalize upon our facilities and parks. Yeah, I don't think we're done with the budget either.
Yeah, and we haven't begun putting together our draft for the next fiscal year either, so I mean, the trend is, you know, going from last year to where we're at this year, we've, you know, that most of that surplus doesn't exist in the current year's budget. We'll have a better track record of where we think we're gonna end up when we do our mid-year analysis, which will come to the board in February, and then we'll turn around and start working on the preparation for next year's budget. But yeah, my expectation is, you know, our growth in expenses on the facility side really is gonna stretch the limits of the funding available, coupled with, you know, for many years, we had really big we had really successful fundraisers, many of those prior years. Not necessarily last year, there was a fundraiser, but it didn't produce a lot of money, but they were, you know, in 2022, we made close to $70,000. Net, not gross. So like 4 times what the event raised last year, and now there isn't a planned one next year.
Yeah, it makes all the difference, and, you know, obviously, you know, I think we need to try to keep our programs, you know, make them flourish and grow. But eventually, always, you know, if you run into money problems, then that's not,
Start cutting programs, but.
well, we don't want that, so.
we don't see what that-
But yeah,
And then if I have any report out from my conversation with Jordan regarding TRM.
okay.
Welcome.
for future agenda.
And if you join TRF, we can have you as a standing
Yeah,
item.
so yeah. I'll talk to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But, so yeah, we'll try to keep the next agenda shorter so that we can get to the tour, cause I really think that it's nice to get some real, sometimes when you're,
Maybe
you know, when
we
you're,
start with the site visit and then come here, you know, you know,
Be lighter.
yeah, that's,
Then we'll have to get to it.
well,
that's a good, I think that's something we can accommodate. We'd have to start here, we have to open the meeting here, be available to the public, and then go together. This is all gonna be a public, part of the public meeting. And we wanna conduct as much business as we can here, because then it's recorded and available to the public. We had somebody listen in on most of your meeting today through Zoom.
Oh, we did?
We did. You didn't see them because I had this agenda up instead, but they probably saw you.
They have any question?
I would hope they saw you. There was no chat request, no.
Yeah, never saw
I
you.
didn't know somebody.
Sorry, yeah.
They're already gone.
No more. You've worn them out after 2.5 hours. So yeah, we'll try to keep this agenda, the next agenda a little bit briefer and get to these topics with, you know, and do the tour for sure. And again, I wanted to start at we do have some issues, the community center that are worth, or at that, I say community center, but that general area where we have community garden, community center, skate park, rec center, parking lot. There's some complexities going on there that are worth it.
okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Can't believe there was somebody on.